We have Laura Graham Brown. I've stolen one of her slides. Paginated reports have had some love. So over to you.
Thanks, Sue. Let me just share a screen. So, paginated reports. Okay. Let's start off with, for those of you that don't know me, let's start off by introducing myself. If you're looking for me on LinkedIn, it's Laura Graham Brown, but almost everywhere else I'm known as Laura GB. I've got a blog and a YouTube channel, both called Hatful of Data. Yes, I'm a Terry Pratchett fan, Hatful of Sky, and I nicked the name.
Yeah.
I'm a data platform MVP. I'm also BizApps MVP because I do some Power Automate as well as some of the other things. I don't like pictures of me, which is why Sue doesn't have a picture of me. But I do, the way I relax, the way I turn my brain off is by playing strategy board games, because it's the only way I can get my brain to shut up. And this is one of my favorites. Galaxy Trucker is awesome. You build a spaceship and you get fired at, and I always do it badly and I always lose, but I still enjoy it. It still makes me laugh, and that's the important part. So please feel free to put questions in chat. I can see the chat as I'm going, and I'll pick up questions at suitable points when they fit in. Okay, so paginated reports. Why? Paginated reports are old. They come from SSRS days. I never did SSRS. I only ever came across them online, but they've been around a while. Report Builder is still old, clunky, and revolting to use. It hasn't improved very much, but Microsoft is still doing things with it. And the reason being, there's lots of reasons. I have one client who they have to do statements and they have to legally do them and get them signed. Other companies, they want snapshots. They need to have a printed report because, hey, they're still in a company that still likes printed reports and wet signatures. And also, a really interesting conversation I had with one of my kids whose speciality is accessibility. And we reckon that for some situations, a paginated report is going to be more accessible by various means, especially for screen readers, than a Power BI report. But we're not going to get distracted onto that because then I start ranting about Power BI reports and their useless accessibility. But that's a whole different session. So there's lots of reasons for paginated reports. We still need them. They're still out there. And please don't think they are being written off because they're certainly not. So the updates, and I put with love, with a bit tongue-in-cheek, because some of these are not with love at all. We're going to look at 3. We're going to look at the Power Query being added, which got me very excited. I will then explain to you why it got me very cross. Online creation is in its early days, but it's a really good thing to explore. And dynamic subscriptions gives you a brilliant way to automate some concepts. Okay, I will be honest with you. Some of these demos are new to me, so this is the first time I run through them, and I am really good at upsetting the demo gods. So let's see how it goes. So let's start with Power Query. It allows you to go and get some data. It's giving you access to what we now think of as the new ways of getting data, so it's improved in that regard. It's ahead of Power BI Desktop in that regards. It gives you a nice interface. Also, but gives you a standard Power Query window. Okay, and there we are. We end up with our data source is Power Query, which is a bit weird compared to other data sources. And then I can show us putting a bringing in a table. We're going to do a couple of demos in here. Okay, when it comes to editing them, on the edit mashup, which is not what we expected to be called, but it is in Power Query. It is in Report Builder, but not normally for Power Query. It forgets the login every time. And I'll show that, but it's really quite simple. We're clicking that button and then we're clicking connect, and it gets us back in there straight away. But you have to do it every time you edit. Once it's published, it seems to work fine. But let's walk through some of those bits. So I'm not starting with so if you've been through my 12 days, which is I've got links to later on. If you've been through my 12 days of paginated reports, you'll know that the first thing I normally do is I create a template. Haven't for this one. I decided let's start with a real empty report. Okay. If I right click on data sources and go for the get data, it puts me into this window, which if you've been playing with Fabric at all, you'll be very familiar with. And the first one we're going to go with is an Excel workbook. And I have put this Excel workbook, and let's see if I remember to keep it copied. Oh, there's all sorts of things in there. There's the one I want. Let's just scroll up a second and click all. It's on GitHub. Okay, so the example I'm walking through today, all the resources are on GitHub. You could go through and do exactly the same thing. So there we are. Because it's on GitHub, authentication is anonymous. And we can click next. And I'm just going to go. So we're talking about trains today. We're talking about some expensive steam train journeys from going London to York. It's all made up. It's all fictitious, but I wanted some different data. So I've got my data there, and we've got a transform data button. Okay, all pretty straightforward. Nothing particularly new about this. It comes in and does the things we expect it to do. The navigation through, changing types, etc., etc. So we're going to do a couple of things in here. Firstly, I'm just going to get rid of that column 8. So all the things you expect. So we can go and do a choose columns and just get rid of column 8. And I could potentially go and change, let's go and change that price to be a currency, just to make things a little easier later. But there we go. We can do all the things you expect to do, all the filtering, etc., etc. Got a slight bugbear. If I go up to the source step and I click on the cogwheel, there is no little drop down to do parameters. Even if we go to view and go always allow parameters, so I tick that on, still doesn't give me it in there, but we could. We can on the home ribbon go to and create a new parameter. So we can do all these things. It's text and click OK there. And if I go up onto the timetable there and go back into the source, I can come into here. So these parts are all very nice. But it's not giving me much help there with regards to, oh, I think that's capitals. It's not giving me IntelliSense as cleanly as I'd like, but it is working. And there we are. We've got ourselves a report. Yes, I know I've got too many change types in there. I'm ignoring that. And I haven't renamed anything or anything like that, but it is giving you the options. It is, if we were connected to data that we could query fold, it would show you those parts as well. So let's click create. And if we expand over here on the left, we can see that we've got a Power Query and we've got a timetable. And let's just prove that's going to work. Let's just go and insert a quick table. And let's bring in the journey name and the date. And let's bring in the depart time. Okay. That column there is going to be way too narrow. I can see that coming. And if we press run, there we are, we've got it. Those dates need formatting, but we're pretty much, it's going okay. We haven't got headings. If I go to print layout, I can always guarantee those headings come in. Yeah, there you see, the headings come in on a print version. Earlier it didn't give me data, which was slightly disturbing. But we've got a standard paginated reports. Okay, it works. If I come back in to my timetable here and I do a right click and I do edit mashup, which yeah, it's a slightly odd name. And we go to into here, it's saying it does not do that. Configure connection, click connect. It's already got the connection. It should know what it's doing. And there we are, it's back again. Okay, so it's all there. If you come into here and put in train timetable and do create, behave, come on. It doesn't rename the name of the data set. Okay, that doesn't work. So we've got we've got a report there. It works. It's got some limitations. If I go to the dataset properties, there is the query being run. That is the M code, horrifically edited. You can't edit it. Nothing happens. That FX button you can't click. None of these buttons work. Okay, you are stuck with only using the Power Query Editor. This means if you wanted to put in a filter into there, okay, such as you only wanted the trains starting from London, you would have to go, or you wanted to put a proper parameter into there, you'd have to put a parameter into here. So I'm just going to run it just so I can remember what I've put in that. It's not in there, is it? My apologies. I'm just going to put depart location column in just so that we can see it. LKC and York. Okay, let's do that. So if I was going to put in a parameter into here, and we're just going to call it depart. The only way to filter this is to go on the dataset properties and go to filters and turn around and say the depart location equals and put into here the parameter. Okay, and that works. So if I come into here and put YRK for York, and I could make that drop down. I could put in all those things, and there we are. We've got all the York trains, the evening trains back from York to London. But that has the disadvantage that it loads all the data and then it filters it. There is no pushing back and filtering it or folding it or anything like that. That's a disadvantage of those kind of filters. Okay, so that gets us to there. If let's head back to any questions.
We've had a couple, but I've got one for you. I was just writing it in the chat. Does query folding, I mean, obviously it won't happen now because we're on Excel, but does query folding happen in Power Query going back to if we're going to, say, SQL Server?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yes, it does.
So, yeah. So there were a couple of questions. Ronnie was asking why you would use, why you wouldn't necessarily use Power BI service and one of the semantic models. So we were there was a few chats about that in it. And
I think by the end of today's session, I'm going to convince you that we would all go back and use a paginated. We would all go back and use a semantic model.
yeah,
This was trying to avoid people having to build semantic models.
yeah.
And that was the aim of it. But there's the next demo I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you why I wouldn't use this and I would use a semantic model. And I'll quickly move on to moving semantic models.
Okay, cool. Brilliant.
And yes, you are right. It inherited the IntelliSense from data flows. Totally agree.
And just that we love and hate them.
Oh yeah, we love and hate them. We love and hate them. We really do.
I did a whole course on enterprise DNA, 2 courses on it, just because I was ready to throw the computer out the window.
It's why I originally did 12 days. It was because I was ready to throw it out the window, but I had to do it for a project.
Yeah.
So let's go back to my part here because I'm pretty certain I've got another slide. Oh no, that's I haven't got another slide. I was meant to do it all in that demo. So we've got in here, we've got our we've got in here our timetable and our depart location. It says YRK. I want it to say York. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to edit my mashup. Configure the connection because hey. And I still should. Anthony, yeah, okay. I only do paginated reports because I have to, and I love them because actually I get paid a decent amount to do them because everybody else hates them. So, because I'm a freelance consultant. So let's go for another data source. But what I do love is copy and date history in Clipboard. So we're gonna connect to the same one. I would normally make sure that we're using the same parameter, etc., etc. But there is no option from there. You have to do it and then go and create it afterwards. But I'm going to bring in the stations data, which gives me a station ID and it gives me a full station name. So I'm going to click create. And we're going to, and for some weird reason, it hasn't done the promote. So we're just going to do that very quickly. Okay, so I've now got a station ID and that gives me a station name. So if I come back into my data here, we're just going to do a real simple, this isn't the most logical thing in the world to do, okay? This is, bear with me while it's a demo. So we're just going to go and do merge queries and I'm going to go depart location and I'm going to go to stations. I'm going to go to station ID and the lovely pictures. I absolutely adore these pictures. We can go for an inner, if you've ever had to explain joins, I've used these pictures so many times. Click OK. Then I can come into here. I only want the station name. And I'm just going to tweak the M code there to give me depart station. Okay. Works great. Everything happy? We're all happy with that as a concept? Yeah. This is where I had a problem. We then go and click create. And there we go. Updated successfully. Watch the left-hand side of the screen when I press OK. And oh, look, all our fields have gone. And it's kind of like, where did they go? What happened? Why? So I go,
would you do that?
So I do right click and I go to edit the mashup and I go, wait a minute. It's only bringing through one table. So let's think about this logically. Let's go to stations and configure the connection. To say the truth, at this point, I really did kind of lose the plot. I went for a walk at this point and cried lots. Come into here, but there's an enable load. So let's unenable load. Let's see if that fixes it. Nope, that didn't fix it. Edit the mashup again. And by the way, I knew that wasn't going to fix it.
I was
And
so excited when I thought Power Query.
Yeah, so was I.
was.
So was I. I was at the first FabCon, and I was so excited. I went and played with it for 5 minutes and didn't touch it again. The answer to getting the right query is it takes the last one. So you have to drag and drop the query that you want to come out to the bottom and then click create. And that fixes it. Okay. Yeah, high tech. You drag and drop things to the end. It's really common.
It only brings.
It only brings through one table. Yes. You can only have one table come through per query. Another issue that I have. The one thing it does have, which I'm really hoping comes through to Power BI desktop, is that you have a diagram view. Okay. And the diagram view does give you, I mean, this I really like. It's got red things around it because I haven't done this bit here, but that I really like, and I'm really hoping it comes to Power BI desktop. So Power Query, I'm excited in some regards, but I'm so annoyed in other regards. Okay, so this is not the right way, in my view, to build a paginated report off of this part. You do have to go and build a semantic model. So
Yeah, it reminds me. So Takemi's putting the question and the thing. It reminds her of Access. It does remind me of Access too. It's that old, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yes. No. Takemi, I am 100%. 100% with you on the it feels like Access report page, but to tell you the truth, Access report page building was better. And the whole thing of grouping and all that stuff, believe me, that is why I've got the 12 days, and that is why things. But let's move on to something more positive. So I've taken the same train data, we're sticking this to the same stuff. Okay, so let's go and look in my workspace. Please be aware it's only a pro workspace. I have not got a fabric capacity in here. Okay, let's lose the task closed for a second. And look, I've pre-done the demos. Well, we've done 1 and 2 already. I have a lot of demos. We're working on it, and I know Sue's trying to get to yoga. So we're going to. Why do I still have a fabric child capacity? Because it keeps going back up again. Every time it gets to 10 days, it goes back to 24. Why would I pay for fabric if I can have it free?
Mine cancelled, but then it's come back again now.
Yeah, well, train sale. So I have a report. It's a very simple little report. It hasn't got a huge amount of data in it. If this was a real train company, they'd have gone out of business. So we've got some trains, they've got carriages, we've sold some tickets. If I'm on this train here in the amber carriage, here are the bookings we've currently got. Okay, they're bookings around tables, so that 11's a table number and these are the seat numbers. That's my concept. So if we go back into our, I've got the Cornish flag. I thought I'd fit in. And we go for train sales. Okay. I've just clicked on the semantic model, and it's just showing you all the reports that are based off it and using the same data sources and all those kinds of things. Over here, there's a Create Paginated Reports preview button. Here, there's a Create Paginated Reports button as well. Okay, both take you to the same place. So if I click into there, okay, what I can do we're going to build a very, very simple baby report. I can click into my semantic model, and let's go for the train journey name. And as soon as you do that, you'll see you start to get things down here. We can turn around and go, well, that should be a bit bigger. And every time you change anything, it'll give you the preview. If the preview drives you nuts, you can hide it. Okay. So we're going to go for, well, when is that journey and how much does it cost? Do you know how much steam train journeys cost? They cost a fortune. So I've reflected that. I did my research. Okay. And we can have a look at the preview. And there we are. We've got a price come through. If I come into here, maybe I haven't got formatting on it. I'll fix that in a second. But it's come through the various parts that I want. I can then come up to File and Save. Yeah, steam trains are expensive. They're serving a meal, I promise. So this is my online report. And I'm going to click Save. And there we are. And we can click the View Report there. And there we are, it runs. Okay. If I go back to the workspace just for a second. Of course they're on time. If I come back to the things, be aware, okay, that report is pulling off of that semantic model. If I go to the lineage view, okay, you'll see my examples that I've got off there. But by the way, all my ones which we were building off Power Query do not have anything behind them. So just pushing back onto the Power Query just for a second, that means that Power Query runs every time you open that report. Every time. So if you've got Power Query that takes a quarter of an hour to run, think about it. So go to a semantic model, please. So we've got our report. Let's go back into our online report again. Oh, no, don't do that. Up here, I can go to viewing to editing. Okay. Now, if we wanted to bring into here different data, so if we wanted to be able to filter it on where is it leaving from, okay, in my timetable here, I've got a depart location. I could put that in, and you can see it's not going to fit in. Let's just make that journey date a bit smaller. Come on. There we go. And I'm just going to change that title, just say depart. Okay. So we've got departing from London and we've got departing from York. Okay. But what I can do is I could put into that depart location, I can create a parameter. There'll be a filter, so I can click continue. And there we are. We've now got a filter in here, which we can say we don't care about. We don't care about London. We just want to see the report for York. Okay, and it's all pretty much in there. It's all pretty straightforward and nice, clean in this view. Okay, everybody right with everything so far? No blank pages. Yeah, no blank pages. Don't do blank pages.
No.
Well, no, actually, there probably are blank pages. Oh, look, there's a blank page. There's a blank page because of the width. So yeah, good point. Check for blank pages and make sure that you're aware of what's happening here. Okay. There are working out what you can and can't do in here. There's limited things in here. Okay. What I can do is I can insert a header. Okay. And into there I can insert a text box. And I could insert an image. I don't think I've got one that's going to make sense. I'm just going to do if I do file. No, I haven't got a URL one. That's one thing I've forgotten to prepare. Sorry, guys. Oh no, it's gonna offer me things. What should we have? Let's go for Cornish flag. Okay, so we can do those things. We can put a footer in, but it's limited in what we can do with regards to formatting some of these things. Okay, let me see if I can convince it to come back here. There's not much. I think I can do some things on the home ribbon. If I pick one of these, there's not a lot I can do in formatting these things. So we haven't got the full functionality of Report Builder, but we have managed to add a parameter, which is what's always one of the challenges with working with semantic data sets. I don't know if you ever tried doing that without it.
Yeah. Just trying to work out how to add it in. It drove nuts. Question from Donald. We can't do images in rows using the GUI, can we? Can't do images
in rows. The easiest way on the online version, no.
Yeah.
If you want to do images in rows, probably the easiest way to do that is having a table that has the URLs in it and then putting those into rows. I've seen some nice clever things done in that regards. So, and of course, this is the Pixel Perfect is the nickname of paginated reports, and you're not expected to be, if you're wanting things exactly lined up, etc., you are expecting to do those ones in. So I mean, we've got things like, interestingly, we've got alt text, which is good. Okay.
Nice.
Can somebody please point out to my youngest that I am putting in alt text? My youngest is
Don't you worry.
And you've got, oh, that's interesting. There we go. An unexpected error occurred. I wonder if it'll let me go backwards. You let me go back? Oh.
Do you reckon it's because of the alt text? Oh, what have we got?
Anyway, thank you, Fernando. I am going to go back to the workspace. Go back to my online report. I'm possibly going to have to re-add in some of the parts. So if we go to edit, yes, it's not picked up anything. I'm going to put back in the parameter, but what I am going to show you is a slightly different way of doing the parameter. Okay, you don't have to add the parameter into the table. I can put in that parameter into the field there, and then so I just dragged and dropped it like you would in desktop, and I've then gone on 3 dots and create parameter. And see, that works just as well.
I would have thought it would have been, to me, it made more sense to have the filters on the left and the data in the middle. So it's sort of replicating more of the Power BI desktop. I sort of got a bit confused when I first opened in it because I thought filters.
Well, no,
was looking.
That's like the filters pane in desktop, isn't it? So what you need? So what you do need to be aware of
on the left
is no, it's not.
Oh, you have your filters, and then you have your data, you have your visuals.
In Power BI Desktop, the filter pane, if you're using the filter pane, is on the right. It is, so we'll check later. Now's not the time. We'll do a save before I break it.
I've got it right in front. Which
it's on the right. So that's given me, and what I'm just quickly going to do is I'm quickly going to go and put my header in there and just show that it works. That works, okay? And we're going to save our report. If I go back into desktop, not desktop, into the workspace, okay, and get out of this view because I don't like it. So there's my online report, okay? What I can do in this online report, 3 dots, edit in report builder, or you can do it Oh, wait a minute. You have to put a flipping filter in order to do this for some stupid reason. Then you can also do it there, edit in Report Builder. And let's open Report Builder. It warns you, it's got code in it. There's nothing that excited. And I leave the option on. You can go into File Options and turn this off. So if we look in here, if we look at the data set, so there's the data source is my semantic model. And here's my 2 data sets that have come off it. Okay, but if you look, because I've been good inside my semantic model and put spaces and underscores in, you end up with these underscore F5 or underscore 20. And that is, it gets coded and then decoded, and it's a nightmare. But you end up with these weird names. Your parameter also ends up with this long, weird name. And it also, you end up with being able to select multiple options and all sorts of parts that you perhaps do and don't want. Okay, you've got to work that out. But these are the default names it comes from of your semantic model. Okay.
Yeah.
Lisa's name does not say Pram 1. Yes, there is that. I will give it that. But still. So we've got to that part. So we can put in parameters. So my view is, if you're trying to build paginated reports, I would go and build semantic models first, unless you are going directly to, so if I come into data sources and do a right click and add data source, if you are going to any of those, sure, fine, don't go via a semantic model. But I wouldn't go via Power Query unless you've got some I've yet to see the argument for it. I think I'm going to nab Alex Powers probably to turn around and go, why would I ever go Power Query? Give me a reason. But if you've got those ones there, I would always go that way. And if you and anything else, I'd go for our semantic model. Okay. Any questions regarding that before I go change topic?
No. Just basically asking for questions about it.
So that was my bit about Power Query. We then went to online creation. We can go and create our report. We can go and tick things to say which fields we're going to have.
I got frustrated because I wanted it formatted, or I wanted a measure, and you get used to building with a semantic model. And
so as long as you've built the measures, you can put measures in.
Yeah, but you then have to go, but you're like, I want that measure, and then you have to go back and change it, and it's sort of.
Yeah. But hey, that's that. But when you've got to the point which you can edit your semantic models online, it then becomes easier. Much
nicer. Yeah? Oh, and the right, I didn't mean the right of the page, I meant the order on the right of the page. So filter pane is on the right, but it goes filter visual data. And that's what I expected from the paginated reports, for it to be on the right side, but for it to be filter build data.
Sue, we'll have this in one of our conversations and we'll do it then. But I'm aware how many demos I'm trying to do.
Yeah. I forgot we've got people. I forgot we've got people.
There's other people here, my dear. There's other people here. Okay, so
sorry.
So we can create reports online, and I think in that regards, if you have to do paginated reports, I think this is a great way to go. And of course, with Fabric, everything goes into semantic models anyway. So semantic models being edited online is getting there, and we can do more and more on the online ones. So then we move into, there you are, see, I did a demo. Adding parameters, I haven't yet written the blog post for these, okay, guys, but I am very aware in the next 2 weeks I will do blog posts. Sue will chase me, I promise. I might even do some videos. But here we are. We've got the create a parameter, etc. And the way it, oops, did not mean to do that. And the way it appears in here. The one part I meant to show you, and let me just go back and show you that part. I just did the wrong thing. That's going to confuse me in a minute, but let's go back into here. The one thing I wanted to show you was this data set, right click, data set properties. Even if you are happy to write the DAX yourself, okay, this little bit in here, that treat as, you've got RDL custom DAX parameters. Understanding how that works is really important, because that means we can start to write our own DAX to do our own things in here. We don't have to do them online. We don't have to do them all online. We can do some slightly more dynamic things in here, and it does work. You can play around with it. So this I really like, but you can't test it anywhere but inside the report with the right parameters. So let's go and talk about the next bit, because I'm aware that I've only got, oh, wait a minute. Let's guessing slides numbers now. There we go. Add parameters. We did that. Come on. That was not what I expected it to do, but never mind. Dynamic subscriptions. Okay, guys. Automating the sending out of paginated reports. Okay. You can do this via. You can do some of this. You can do some of this via Power Automate, and that works quite well. But this allows us to do some clever things with data, using almost like row level security, but row level sending data out. Okay. So let's go to look online and see how this works. If you are, so everything I have done so far, we've been able to do in a pro workspace. Okay. But if I go to our online, my report, okay, my carriage seat booking. So let's go for the idea here that you've got stewards on your trains, and they need to know the names of who's booked which seats. And if you've ever been on a train to get Wi-Fi, you'll know there isn't any. There never is. Whatever the rail companies say, the Wi-Fi never works. So therefore, our staff actually need a clipboard and a piece of paper. So if I come to a journey, I know I've got some on the Semantic, in the amber carriage, and it's happening on the 14th of, yeah, let's not talk to you about the date formats. Didn't manage to fix those. But there we are. We've got, here are the bookings that have been done for that romantic lunch. Yeah, there's groups of 4. Whether that's romantic or not is another thing. But we've got people booking. So that the manager of the amber carriage would be able to print this out and have it on their clipboard to tick people off as they come onto the train. Works. So if you want to subscribe to that, so you want to be able to send it out to people, when I go to create a subscription, the only options I've got is my report parameters and me being able to put things in, and I could get it so it's going to be sent out on the right date at the right time to the person. So I could get it so that it's sent out at 7 a.m. on that day so they get a copy of it. But I would have to have one for every single carriage. And if one of my trains doesn't have all the carriages, or I had a new carriage, it's a nightmare. I'd have to have one for every carriage for every train I'm doing. I want one for every train I'm doing, the journeys, rather than one for every carriage. So I can't do that in here. So let's change workspace. Let's change workspace to go to one that either has premium or has a fabric capacity. And yeah, I know they're all going to be fabric capacities. Anil, I'll come back to you on that one. I have a suggestion on that, but I'll come back to you. If I go to my carriage seat bookings report here, it's the same report. Aurora, I think anybody can subscribe to them who can see the report, but I would have to test that. Do you know, Sue?
I don't know for sure. I'd have to check. I would imagine it is the difference between issuing and then connecting. I'd have to check.
Just one quickly note, just before I dive into this subscription, Tony, real quick answer there. There are a number of blog posts out there, and there have been a number of sessions. I think there was one at Bits actually about moving SSRS reports from report server onto paginated reports. I've never done it, so I don't know how difficult it is, but I know there are a number of people out there that have blogged it. So once I've got these, I've got it here. I've done exactly. I've done the same filter. I've got the same part there. So if I go to a subscribe here, you'll see there's one I built earlier just to check this would work. And if I go to a new subscription, you'll see here we get two types. There's a standard or there's a dynamic. Now inside my data, on the carriage data for this report, there is every carriage has a manager's email. So if I go to a dynamic per recipient, my data is going to come off train sales. So it doesn't have to be the data of your report. Okay, this could be a different data set if that helps. If I go next, okay, you then have to pick the fields that you're going to want to use. So I am going to use the name of the journey, and I'm going to go for the journey date as well. And I'm going to go for the carriage name and the manager. And it shows you all the examples data that you've got there. Okay. So that gives me my table of data showing me who the manager, and the manager is an email address. So then we click next, and then here comes a box that we can fill in. Okay. I'm just going to put out in there. Whenever you've got a drop down that says enter manually, we can come in here, we can go get from data, and it's going to be the carriages manager. Okay, email subject. I could do get from data, and I could do journey name, or I could type one in. Okay. Your passenger list. Okay. I can turn off these things, or I can put them in there, whatever we want. Let's leave them on just so we can see what they look like. We'll ignore activator because we really haven't got time for that today because I've only got 10 minutes left. And then I'm going to click next. So when it comes to the parameters, okay, the journey name, I could do get from data and go for timetable journey name. The carriage name, I could do get from data and go for carriage name. Now, what I want it to do is only the trains on a particular day. So I'm going to go for the journey date, leave it as the one that's been picked. Okay. That's the easiest way to do it, is to do the filter and then work it from there. If I then go next, obviously we would run it on the day that we wanted them to get them, but hey, we're just going to do it like this. I am going to turn these subscriptions off when I finish. But anyway, let's go for that and then click next. And there we are. We've got all of our parts in there. Let's go save and close. Anthony, if you've got a second login, get somebody else to start a trial and put the trial on your account and get them to share the trial with you. Anyway, you see, the one I did up there was exactly the same data, and I put the dates in. So I would have one for each of the dates that I know I've got trains happening. If I do an expand here, you can see all the details that has been put into there. If I click send now, subscription sent, so it claims. So that means you could set them all up. If you look at manage all, you can see, because I'm the subscription owner, I can see all the ones that I can manage. Okay. With regards to admins, I have never done that before, but it's obviously something I should probably do a blog post about. If the admins can see them all, that's great. But let's go and have a look and see if I'm not testing my inbox, because my inbox is horrific. Oh, we haven't come through yet. We'll give it a couple of minutes. So these are the parts that we pick a dynamic, we fill in some of the parts, we get the parts in there right, we put into there, but your data has to have the email addresses in it for it to work in some regards, or some data somewhere has to have it, and there has to be a way of connecting it to your data to make it work. Okay. All of the resources I've used today will be, we're going to go and see if that emails come through in a second. All the resources I've used today are on my GitHub, including these slides and including links to the Microsoft posts that support this. I will, as I add in my blog posts over the next couple of weeks to do these 3 demos, I will add them in as well, and I will write blog posts and hope maybe do a YouTube video or 2 to go with it. Okay. Greater than 2,000 unread. Oh yes, Fernando. Oh yes. Don't tell anybody, okay? And there we go. There is one. There will be another one appearing. There is one of them, okay? And if we look here, there is the PDF, and it's showing me my PDF. I put some titles in for my the tops to come off the parameters. Okay, and if I've got a couple of minutes in a second, I'll show you how I did that, because there's a little trick you have to do. Just so that you are, so this was sent out to somebody on the same tenancy, okay? But if I go to open the report in Power BI from being logged in as Dan, I don't have permission to view that report. So you don't have to have permission to view the report to get the email. Okay, so that's a nice trick. But if I come into here, he has got a pro license. So whether that makes a difference, I don't know. I'd have to test it with one that doesn't have a pro license, or maybe I just remove the pro license from Dan. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. He never logs in. It's not a real person. Well, it is a real person. I've named it after my grumpy coach, for those of you who have seen my other sessions. So
I've met him.
Did
I meet him? No, okay, carry on, sorry.
Yes, I think so. So I was trying to work out when. So we can get them to go out. This one's about to get one because this is the train from London to York. There we are, and there's the one back again. So for each journey they've got, they're being sent a separate seat bookings. Now I could have done it via Power Automate to create the files and put them in SharePoint and let people go and grab them from there. That would be another option. But this does give us an option. They get an email, they could read on their phone, etc., whatever's going to work. Okay.
So Prutha said in Power BI service they don't see the dynamic subscription. Is that because of the premium?
That's because you need to either have Fabric or a premium. A paginated report with, but be aware, okay, my report is in here, but the data set that it's coming off is not. So you just have to have the report in a Fabric enabled workspace. The model that it's the semantic model is off isn't in one. It's back in the other workspace.
Oh, I see. So actually, it shouldn't cost very much in compute then.
No, I don't think it would cost much in compute at all. And to tell you the truth, this one, if this is going to be an automated thing you send out, if this is what you're wanting to do, you could quite easily set it up, turn off the capacity, turn back on the capacity, run the thing, and then turn off the capacity.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, sorry, I mentioned the fact that the first part was all in Pro, and now we've moved to Premium. Okay. And by the way, if you're going for, and here's the report I built with you last time, guys. If you're going for the subscribe, it's not just for paginated reports. If I come into the subscribe here and create a subscription, you can do a dynamic one here. Okay. How it's working off parameters and things, I haven't sat down and worked out, but you can do it. But most people think of it as paginated reports, but you could do screenshot kind of style reporting off of a standard report as well. Okay, so before I get told off by Sue, and she's scary. Here's my reports. Please feel free to reach out to me. Okay, guys, here's my details. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm usually quite active on LinkedIn. My blog posts there will be blog posts to support this one. And if you've got any good games to recommend, I'd love to hear them.
Thank you. And I met Laura many years ago because I was working through one of her tutorials. It was probably about 6 or 7 years ago on SVGs. And you did the ones with the little people. Yes. And I couldn't get the head to work. So like it was a SVG based on a Power BI report. So that we'll pop it up in a minute, Curtis. And I emailed her. And she did a whole YouTube thing for me because she said that, if people ask her questions, then what she likes to do is to do a YouTube video. And that's how we met, probably 7 years ago now, I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So she does rock, and she is awesome. And yeah, she's brilliant. So
there is my GitHub, guys. I'm just about to go and copy the link into the chat. It's not on my blog site, I've just realized, so I need to add it onto my blog site. But that's an interesting
What I love about paginated reports is being able to use it in the service makes it accessible to do. Whereas, before it was in the service, you had to download Report Builder and get your head around this whole new tool.
And doing the filters on semantic models is doable.
Yes.
And it's not doable anywhere else. So
that's how I met Johnny Winter, because and Matthew Coates, because he showed a picture of his cats during lockdown, and I said I needed to see that, and got chatting to Johnny, and I spent some time looking at them.
Yes, there are a number of people out there that are doing stuff. Unfortunately, paginated reports in a day has gone missing.
Yeah.
Which I'm complaining lots about. But I'm not complaining too loudly because I might end up having to rewrite it. But I have to do this session. I've got this session booked at another conference as well, so I definitely will be blogging it, and there will be, if anything else gets added, I will add that in as well.
Yeah, brilliant.
See, I finished on time, boss.
You look at you go,
and I didn't break anything too much.
And you didn't break anything, and you put up with me heckling in the background.
Yeah, well.
So I know Laura too well. Anyway, I'm going to stop recording so we can chat for 10 minutes. So recording stopped. Brilliant. So huge